As Roman charged towards the location where Edwin Hector was stationed, the weight of strategic contemplation burdened his thoughts. In the face of a smaller fighting force, he believed in a singular approach to end the war, eliminating the enemy's commander. The idea resonated in his mind as he followed the invisible thread of mana emanating from Edwin's communication device, leading him closer to the heart of Hector's camp. The journey brought them to the base of a mountain, the camp sprawling beneath. Roman's agility and precision took them down with alarming speed, leaving no room for retaliation. Closing in on Edwin, the gravity of the impending confrontation pressed upon Roman. His plan hinged on the assumption that striking down the enemy's commander would cripple their forces. However, Edwin had other tricks up his sleeve. As Roman poised to deliver the decisive blow, Edwin unleashed a surprising display of fire magic. The flames danced with an otherworldly grace, catching Roman off guard. The revelation of Edwin's magical prowess shattered Roman's preconceptions. The mana flowing through Edwin seemed to follow a different rhythm. In the crucible of conflict, Edwin unleashed a spell named Inferno, a torrent of magical flames hurtling towards Roman. Instinctively, Roman raised his defenses, attempting to ward off the fiery onslaught. However, Edwin was not finished. Swiftly transitioning, he cast another spell, Entangle, causing tree roots to surge from the ground below Roman. Roman, however, proved resourceful. With a deft stroke, he severed the ensnaring roots, reclaiming control of the situation. Yet, the respite was short-lived. A swordsman emerged, his form surrounded by a pulsating yellow aura. The swordsman's attack was relentless, a testament to a power that transcended the ordinary. In the clash of blades, Roman managed to block the assault using his own sword as an impromptu shield. The identity of this formidable swordsman soon unraveled. Butler, the captain of the Hector Kingdom's second-ranking Royal Knight Order, a 5-star swordsman. Roman, realizing that Edwin had orchestrated a multifaceted plan to subdue him. Butler's aura exuded an overwhelming strength, a force to be reckoned with. In the midst of this unfolding chaos, Edwin observed with satisfaction as Butler joined the fray. The alliance between a 4th Circle mage and a 5-star swordsman seemed insurmountable. Edwin, confident in their combined might, believed Roman stood no chance against their coordinated assault. With a sense of impending doom, Edwin conjured wind blade magic, directing it towards Roman. Simultaneously, Butler lunged forward, his sword ablaze with an aura that echoed his formidable prowess. Roman found himself caught between the elemental onslaught and the razor-sharp strikes of Butler's sword. In a desperate attempt to defend against both incoming attacks, Roman, to his surprise, faltered in blocking Butler's strike. The impact sent shockwaves through the air, resulting in a resounding explosion that left Roman injured and on his knees. Amidst the chaos, Roman's thoughts raced, reflecting on the twist that had unfolded. He had expected challenges, but the revelation of Edwin Hector's magical prowess in the presence of Butler, a 5-star swordsman masquerading as a common soldier, caught him off guard. Rather than succumbing to despair, Roman found an unexpected thrill in facing adversaries he hadn't anticipated. The unexpectedness of the situation seemed to invigorate him. Standing amid the aftermath, injuries notwithstanding, Roman sported a triumphant smile. The proximity to death brought about a surge of vitality and a renewed appreciation for the pulse of life. On the other side of the battlefield, Butler grappled with the astonishing resilience displayed by Roman Dimitry. A seasoned 5-star swordsman himself, Butler struggled to comprehend how someone in their mid-20s could endure the combined might of both him and Prince Edwin. The encounter raised questions about Roman's origins and the nature of the formidable force he represented. Edwin, sensing Roman's fatigue, seized the opportunity to urge Butler to finish off their worn-out adversary. However, Roman defied the dire circumstances. Initiating a bold maneuver, he unleashed the Heavenly Demon technique, double-casting break hold. Closing the distance with remarkable speed, Roman prepared to unleash a devastating strike on Edwin. Witnessing Roman's approach, Butler swiftly positioned himself in front of Edwin, shielding him from the imminent blow. As Roman's strike descended upon them, Butler summoned all his skill to barely block the attack, saving Edwin from the full force of the blow. The display of Butler's prowess surprised Roman, acknowledging the marked difference in the abilities of a 5-star swordsman. However, Roman's physical limits had been pushed to the brink after employing the demanding Heavenly Demon Sword technique twice. Recognizing the necessity of a strategic retreat, Roman made the decision to withdraw from the battlefield. Before departing, he left Edwin with a chilling warning, foretelling that if their paths were to cross again, Edwin wouldn't survive as he had today. Edwin, stunned by the unexpected turn of events, grappled with the implications of Roman's warning. As Roman's form dissipated in front of Butler, a palpable sense of humiliation swept through the Hector army. The impact of a single individual had nearly resulted in the loss of their esteemed commander, a stark reality that Hector found difficult to reconcile. The truth unfolded before his eyes, challenging the very core of his leadership. Meanwhile, Edwin, burdened with guilt, took responsibility for the unfolding disaster, blaming his own overestimation and misguided judgment. The decision that had seemed like the lesser of two evils at the time had now become the worst-case scenario. Edwin grappled with the weight of the outcome, viewing the battle not as Hector's defeat but as a personal failure. The bitter taste of regret lingered, born from the miscalculations that had led them to this point. The narrative shifted to the following day, where soldiers descended from the mountain with heavy hearts. Edwin extended heartfelt apologies to the soldiers for the consequences of Edwin's misjudgment. Despite the gravity of the situation, the soldiers demonstrated a remarkable understanding. They reassured Edwin that the blame did not rest on his shoulders alone. The adversary they faced had proven to be an exceptionally formidable force. Jackson, a voice of reason among them, echoed these sentiments, encouraging Edwin to lift his head high. The soldiers, he emphasized, held an unwavering belief in their commander. Edwin, comforted by Jackson's words, managed a smile. He acknowledged the resilience of his troops and addressed them with a newfound openness. Aware of the potential repercussions of his decisions, Edwin urged anyone who believed that his choices might lead to defeat to cast aside hierarchical constraints and inform him promptly. The soldiers, understanding the gravity of the situation, nodded in acknowledgement, their loyalty unwavering. In the face of uncertainty, Edwin made a strategic decision. He assigned Hector the crucial responsibility of managing the forefront defense camp within the next 10 days, a pivotal window before Cairo's main army would arrive. Beyond that deadline, the rear camp would transform into their base, marking a final stand against the impending threat. It was a calculated move, demonstrating Edwin's commitment to adapting to the ever-changing circumstances on the battlefield. Butler, curious about the looming challenge of Roman Dimitry, sought clarification from Edwin. Edwin, displaying a blend of caution and confidence, admitted Roman's dangerous capabilities. However, he highlighted the crucial distinction between fighting on the advantageous terrain of the mountains and the more conventional plains. Edwin intended to leverage this geographical advantage, expressing a belief that while he, personally, might have suffered a defeat, but the Hector have yet to be defeated. Jackson pressed Edwin on Hector's prospects for obtaining the desired compensation from Cairo through resistance. Edwin, contemplating the larger picture, disclosed his intention to negotiate a deal with the Kronos Empire. The shift in focus transported the narrative to the regal halls of the Cairo royal palace, where Count Ajur brought unsettling news to King Daniel. Ajur detailed the Cairo royal family's significant investments in the Eastern Front, driven by frequent provocations from Kronos in the past year. However, he painted a stark financial reality, asserting that meeting all of Hector's conditions would deplete Cairo's reserves. When King Daniel suggested raising taxes, Ajur cautioned against it, citing the risk of public unrest since taxes had been increased just 6 months prior. The dilemma prompted Daniel to consider rallying support from Cairo's nobles, even as he acknowledged the potential threat to the royal family's authority. As desperation mounted, Daniel directed Ajur to reach out to the nobles of the central government for an urgent meeting to navigate the financial conundrum. However, the urgency was interrupted by a soldier bringing surprising news from the southern front. The enemy had been repelled. Daniel, taken aback by this unexpected turn, promptly gathered other nobles for a meeting to share the news and strategize a response. The assembled nobles grappled with the revelation, questioning how the southern front, armed with fewer soldiers, managed to drive away Hector's formidable force of 10,000. The perplexity among the nobles grew, contemplating the improbable nature of the victory. In this moment of uncertainty, Daniel saw a glimmer of hope and the potential for a breakthrough in their predicament. Count Denver speculated that Roman Dimitry, a figure whose reputation loomed large, might be the key to this unexpected triumph. The incredulity surrounding Roman's prowess in the face of overwhelming odds pervaded the room. To ascertain the truth, the soldiers were directed to establish an immediate connection to the southern front. As the anticipation built, Henry emerged on the call, potentially holding crucial information about the recent turn of events. As the king inquired about Henry's identity and affiliations, Henry, with a sense of formality, revealed himself as the second son of the esteemed House of Albert. The mention of the House of Albert sparked recognition from Marquis Benedict, who acknowledged its historical legacy of producing outstanding individuals and its influential standing within the central government. However, setting aside this acknowledgement, Marquis directed a more pressing question to Henry, inquiring about the whereabouts of Roman and expressing curiosity as to why Henry was answering instead of Roman. Henry, in a composed manner, explained that he had aligned himself with the corps led by Sir Roman. Intriguingly, Roman had requested some alone time, prompting Henry, as the only noble present, to respond to the call. Marquis Benedict, although evidently irritated by this diversion from the expected chain of command, allowed Henry to elaborate on the unfolding events. Thus began Henry's account of the recent happenings. Marquis, seemingly impatient, urged him to get to the point. Henry, undeterred, began to convey his perspective, emphasizing the critical need to establish a connection with Roman before the name of Sir Roman became widely recognized across the continent. This set the stage for a revelation of Roman's pivotal role in the success of a recent mission. Henry detailed how Roman, with keen perception, swiftly discerned Hector Kingdom's impending attack on the South training camp and their strategic aim for the Warp Gate. Roman, displaying strategic acumen, wasted no time in climbing the mountains to establish a secret camp. The implication was clear. Roman's foresight and decisive actions could have potentially altered the course of events had the Southern Front commander heeded his advice. The revelation left the king and other nobles visibly surprised. The narrative shifted as Henry continued to express his frustration at those who had disregarded Roman's counsel. His deliberate choice of a loud and assertive tone was a conscious effort to ensure that Roman subordinates in the vicinity heard his words of praise. Henry, it seemed, was not merely providing a report but crafting a narrative that underscored Roman's prowess and the significance of his contributions. With conviction, Henry shared that he had fought alongside Sir Roman until dawn. In the face of overwhelming odds, with only 200 soldiers against an enemy force over 10 times their size, they had emerged victorious. With infectious enthusiasm, Henry boldly declared his readiness, along with his soldiers, to engage in a war against the Hector Kingdom. The proclamation resonated with a sense of determination that caught the attention of King Daniel. The monarch expressed his delight, commending Roman Dimitry for displaying unwavering resistance despite being severely disadvantaged. In a stark contrast, he highlighted how the executives of Cairo had been prepared to concede defeat prematurely. Marquis Benedict echoed the king's sentiments, acknowledging the executive's mental surrender when Hector seized the Warp Gate. However, Marquis was quick to recognize the strength of the forces from the Cairo kingdom, particularly highlighting the heroic actions of Roman Dimitry in the Southern Front. This acknowledgement laid the foundation for a shift in perspective, from a posture of defeat to one of strength and resilience. Count Gregory, displaying a proactive stance, urged King Daniel to swiftly dispatch additional soldiers to the Southern Front, condemning the audacity of the Hector Kingdom for encroaching upon Cairo's territory. The king, embodying a newfound resolve, declared an end to negotiations with Hector, expressing Cairo's determination to reclaim its pride. He entrusted Count Gregory, Count Denver, and Marquis Benedict with the responsibility of rallying their family vassals, equipping them with vital information about the developments on the Southern Front. Within the meeting of central government nobles, an initial facade of concern for the safety of the Southern Front veiled a collective objective that became increasingly apparent: the unanimous desire to secure the alliance of Roman Dimitry. The families, recognizing Roman's pivotal role and extraordinary capabilities, had aligned on the crucial decision to recruit him to their respective factions. As the call concluded, Henry's thoughts swirled with anticipation. He envisioned a post-war scenario where Roman, having proved his mettle, would inevitably become a sought-after asset for the central government. Recognizing this as a unique opportunity, Henry envisioned a path where aligning himself with Roman could lead to significant personal growth and success. Post-call, Henry approached Chris, offering a gesture of camaraderie through the sharing of high-quality food. However, Chris, astute and perceptive, saw through the veneer of Henry's actions. In a candid moment, Chris challenged Henry to shift his focus from seeking approval to demonstrating reliability on the battlefield. The notion of trust echoed in Henry's mind, prompting him to reflect on its profound significance in the complex dynamics of camaraderie and alliances. Turning to Kevin, Henry, in a more casual moment, extended an offer to share the high-quality food. The directive from the royal family echoed through the ranks of the southern defense line, a strategic move to bolster Roman and buy precious time until the main force from Cairo could reinforce the south. The focus then shifted to the third defense line of Cairo, where Commander Baron Vasily contemplated the recent outcome of a skirmish. Rumors circulated that Hector's army, purportedly defeated by fewer than 200 men, might not be as formidable as initially perceived. Engaging in a conversation with a fellow soldier, Vasily couldn't help but wonder if Hector's forces were weakened, possibly due to a recent famine. The soldier shared similar musings, and Vasily saw an opportunity in this apparent vulnerability. 3 years in this remote post had left Vasily craving a chance to make a significant impact. Viewing it as a cosmic opportunity bestowed upon him, Vasily felt an urge to contribute to Roman's cause, convinced that whatever a young upstart like Roman could do, he could match. Deciding to employ guerrilla tactics, Vasily instructed the soldier to gather forces promptly. The plan was to showcase the strength of the third defense line and surprise Hector's army, which had split up to conquer the defense lines individually. The specific unit targeting the third defense line consisted of 3,000 soldiers. Fueled by Vasily's ambitious desire to achieve a notable war feat, his forces lay in ambush, ready to strike. As the ambush unfolded, reality deviated from Vasily's expectations. Hector's army, contrary to Vasily's assumptions, displayed resilience and strategic prowess. The soldiers were not the weakened, famine-stricken force Vasily had anticipated. The agitated state of Hector's army, which Vasily had hoped to exploit, had calmed. The comfort that Vasily's troops had taken in the southern defense line proved insufficient against the unexpectedly formidable Hector forces. In a moment of realization, Vasily understood that the victories on the mountains owed much to Roman Dimitri's tactical brilliance. The young and resourceful Roman had played a crucial role in the success of the southern defense line, a fact Vasily could no longer overlook. Unfortunately, Vasily's ambitions came at a cost. His forces were overpowered, and the commander himself was taken down by Hector's soldiers. The news of Vasily's demise reverberated to the royal palace of Cairo. A somber-faced soldier informed the king that Baron Vasily, the valiant commander of the third defense line, had been reported killed in battle with the enemy. As chaos engulfed the defense lines, news arrived that the third and fourth defense lines were under simultaneous attack, intensifying the urgency of the situation. A distressing call from the second defense line revealed a grim reality. Sustaining their current state for another 10 days was deemed impossible, and a desperate plea for reinforcements echoed through the communication. King Daniel, confronted with the swift collapse of the defense lines within a single day, grappled with the severity of the challenge. It dawned on him that the strength of Cairo alone wasn't sufficient. Rather, the decisive factor in their overwhelming victory was the existence and influence of Roman Dimitry. This revelation left the king in a state of vulnerability, prompting an immediate inquiry about Roman's current location. The scene transitioned to a secluded cave, where Roman engaged in rigorous training. Amidst the physical exertion, Roman's thoughts delved into the mysteries of the world, particularly the enigma of magic. Drawing a parallel with Murim, Roman contemplated magic as a fusion of absorbing natural energy, akin to a tree with roots, and further advancing martial arts. The realization struck that if Edwin Hector wielded greater magical prowess, Roman's escape might have been thwarted. Contemplating his martial prowess as a heavenly demon, Roman acknowledged a lack of recovery. The consequences of impulsive decisions weighed heavily on his mind, especially in light of Edwin's strategic traps. Recalling the recent clash with Edwin and Butler, Roman recognized the need for a strategic reassessment. The combination of Edwin's magical abilities and Butler's prowess as a 5-star swordsman posed a formidable challenge. Despite the odds, Roman found exhilaration in facing such formidable foes. He envisioned a scenario where risking everything became imperative, relishing the idea of confronting adversaries who pushed him to the brink. His refusal to settle for a comfortable life echoed loudly in his thoughts. Roman delved into mental simulations, strategically exploring how he could defeat both Edwin and Butler simultaneously. In the aftermath of his mental duel with Edwin, Roman confidently declared that he had completed his war preparations. The shift in focus led us outside the cave, where Henry and Chris anxiously awaited Roman's emergence. Henry, unsure of Roman's whereabouts, conveyed the urgency of the royal family's search for him. In response, Chris stood firm, refusing entry to anyone until Roman chose to reveal himself. This mysterious behavior left Henry questioning the nature of Roman's activities within the secluded cave. As Roman finally emerged, Henry couldn't help but inquire about his rugged appearance. Roman, undeterred, explained that he had spent the time preparing for the impending war. Chris, acting as a messenger, reported the alarming news from the front lines. The third and fourth defense lines had crumbled within a single day, and the enemies had seized control of the second defense line. Hector, having secured all the war supplies, had regrouped in the rear camp, signaling the preparation for a decisive confrontation. Henry, perturbed by the turmoil within the royal family, suggested letting the main force handle the situation moving forward. However, Roman had different plans. Expressing his desire, Roman instructed Chris to establish a connection with the royal family. The subsequent connection brought Roman face-to-face with King Daniel, who, aware of the fallen defense lines, sought an explanation for Roman's actions during this critical period. Roman, maintaining honesty in his responses, clarified that he had dedicated the entire week to preparing his strategy. Despite King Daniel commending Roman for his war feats, there was an underlying concern about the southern defense lines falling into enemy hands. The king, seeking insight, questioned why Roman hadn't intervened sooner. In response, Roman candidly admitted leaving the outcome of the battle with Hector to luck. He emphasized that, had they met the enemy on an open field, his intervention might not have altered the outcome significantly. Hector had placed everything on the line for this war, and Roman's confirmation that Butler, Hector's strongest warrior, had joined the fray added to the gravity of the situation. To King Daniel's shock, it was revealed that Hector's commander, Edwin Hector, was a mage. Roman explained to the king that mages wield overwhelming power, especially in open fields, prompting his decision to wait for Cairo's main force before engaging Hector. Marquis Benedict concurred with Roman's judgment, acknowledging that the southern front faced an uphill battle with their current troops. Count Denver expressed disbelief at Butler's involvement, signaling to the nobles that Hector was fully committed to the conflict. Marquis suggested to King Daniel that further interrogation of their war hero, Roman, was unnecessary, a sentiment echoed by other nobles. King Daniel, respecting this consensus, assured Marquis that he wouldn't question Roman any further. King Daniel then informed Roman that Cairo's main force was on the verge of arriving at the southern front. Acknowledging Hector's completion of siege defense preparations in the rear camp, the king urged Roman to join them after they concluded their own preparations and were ready to launch an attack. Reflecting on Hector's resilience despite the breakdown in negotiations with Cairo, Roman apologized to King Daniel, emphasizing that time was not on Cairo's side. Pressed by the king to clarify, Roman revealed that they had at most 3 days after Cairo's main force arrived. If they failed to destroy the rear camp within this time frame, Hector would likely seek external support, possibly involving the Kronos Empire. King Daniel, surprised, sought Roman's guidance on Cairo's next steps. Roman, smiling, proposed the only viable solution, a full frontal attack. He asserted that defeating Hector within the 3-day window was their sole way out of this predicament.